Hey everyone, I watched a really good video by mylarmelodies this morning about releasing music and whether anyone actually needs to do it. I recommend you go check it out because it was a really good video with some really great points. I think it's a really necessary antidote to some of the attitude that you sometimes see within electronic music circles about, okay, have you actually made any tunes though? Have you actually put anything out? Or do you just collect gear and tinker around and whatever? I just wanted to add my own perspective to the conversation, I think, because I think there are a lot of places where I totally agree with Alex on the things that he's saying, and there are places where I actually diverge, or I actually maybe think that there are other things to consider when it comes to this question of releasing stuff versus just making it and enjoying it for your own benefit. Now, one of the things that I do for a living is that I am a music tech tutor and coach, and I help people with creative problems that they may be having, whether that's technical stuff or mindset things or just reaching a plateau in their artistic practice that they want some help to overcome. And in that work, I often work with a lot of people who have been making music for a while, years, sometimes a decade or more, who have never, if they finish stuff, then they don't release it, they don't share it with people, and a lot of the time they don't even necessarily finish stuff, but they do find value in the making of the music. I want to emphasise that I 100% agree with Mylar's assessment of the situation, which is that if you find something of value in your musical practice, if that benefits you in any way, mentally, emotionally, physically, then that is all your art needs to be. That's all your music making practice needs to do. That should be celebrated, and that is worth celebrating because, as Mylar points out, that is ultimately what life is about. Now, something that really resonated with me in the video was when Alex said the only way worth caring about to know if your music is good or not is to listen to it and ask yourself, does this make me feel something? And I think that is absolutely 100% true, and it connects to something that maybe I would want to build on. Because if you've created something, if you have put your time and energy and the neurons in your brain and the muscles in your body into creating something that didn't exist before, and you find some emotional resonance in that, if that is something that awakens or lights up or invigorates something in you, that's what like the magic of art and of living life is about, right? And that is an incredible thing to have achieved. And I think where that can become even more incredible and even more transformative and even more life-affirming is when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and to open up the possibility of judgment or miscommunication or all of these kind of scary things that happen when you share your music with someone else. Because if you can be brave enough to open up the possibility that somebody doesn't feel the same things that you feel when you listen to that music, if you can be brave enough to face the idea that somebody might not enjoy the thing that you spent all of your time and energy and neurons and muscles making, you open up the possibility for somebody else to interpret what you've made in a way that you never would have anticipated and create new meaning, new inspiration, and new connection with another human being through that process. Yes, it can be scary. Yes, it can be difficult. It can feel pointless. Releasing music onto Bandcamp and just getting maybe a dozen plays or, single digit purchases. Like, that can feel bad if we are looking at it through the lens of a capitalist idea that the only way to measure success is with financial gain or with metrics, with growth, right? With views and plays and all of that kind of stuff. But if you can reframe your perspective to focus on the ways in which making and sharing stuff, even if you are just sharing it with friends or people in your community who also make stuff, if you can strengthen your bonds with other human beings by putting your music in front of them and allowing them to respond to it, to have some emotional reaction. Because chances are, if you create something that stirs something in you, it's gonna stir something in someone else as well. And like I say, that moment of putting something out there into the world and allowing someone else to bring their subjective experience to it and respond to it and say what it reminds them of, or let it inspire them to do something with their music. You know, they might hear an idea in it that makes them want to explore, okay, I want to go and try doing this thing. That's how we move culture forward, and that's how we grow as human beings, and that's how we learn to integrate or reintegrate perspectives that aren't our own into our worldview and move the conversation forward, move culture forward, move music forward. That's how innovation occurs and new genres are born and new feelings are created and friendships are cemented. And I think you should really think about putting your music in front of someone, even if it's only a handful of someone's, because if it means something to you, chances are it can mean something to someone else. And it might not mean the same thing, but that's where the exciting moment of possibility, of rupture, of divergence, and things can push into a new direction. That's where all of that stuff happens. So yeah, I hope your music making is valuable to you and that it really nourishes you in your body and in your mind and in your spirit. And I think if you can be brave enough to invite someone into this safe world that you've created and allow them to respond to it, you know, it may not even be that there is some amazing new next step that occurs. It might just be somebody says, hey, you made this thing and I listened to it and I appreciated it. That in and of itself is a wonderful piece of connection that you can make with your fellow human beings. And I think in the same way that our culture is highly individualized, it's very alienating, it's very consumption oriented, I think people who see someone with a big gear collection and say, okay, but have you made any tunes with it? They're expressing a discontent with a heavily consumerist culture where people are encouraged to buy more and more and more and more, more so than they are encouraged to create new stuff and use those tools and experiment with them and engage in the act of creation or of artistic expression. Now, I still think those people are kind of wrong. But, you know, there's a similar attitude or worldview, I think, expressed by the idea that your art and your artistic expression can just be for you, you know? Allowing something to not belong to you, something that you've made, is a beautiful and powerful thing. And I really encourage you to just try it out sometime. Anyway, that's enough from me. Take care.